I think the mission of ASB has really changed over that period. So at that time in 2006, I was doing some work for ASB in Sri Lanka, for their Sri Lanka office, and the earthquake happened in Yogyakarta here, and ASB decided to respond. So I came out with a small team originally, and that was only supposed to be for a few weeks, just to do the emergency response. And then here we are 20 years later. But over that time, I think that the way that ASB in Indonesia evolved and moved into longer term development work, obviously disaster risk reduction, and also that I think has influenced the wider kind of ASB family as well, particularly in terms of the work that was started here in disability inclusion as well. Everyone that's worked at ASB here in Indonesia has been very concerned about quality. We've also been very concerned about inclusion and equity. So I think those three things have always been recurring themes, despite that change in focus from humanitarian response to longer-term development work.
Di Indonesia, visi ASB adalah untuk mewujudkan masyarakat yang inklusif, berdaya, dan tangguh. Inklusif artinya kita bekerja untuk memastikan masyarakat ini punya akses untuk bisa berpartisipasi secara bermakna. Kemudian berdaya artinya masyarakat juga berdaya untuk punya kapasitas untuk mengelola risiko, baik risiko yang diakibatkan oleh bencana maupun bencana yang diakibatkan oleh perubahan iklim. Dan yang ketiga, kami juga bekerja untuk memastikan masyarakat tangguh, artinya mulai dari level individu, komunitas, sampai pengambil keputusan bisa secara tangguh mengambil perubahan-perubahan positif, mendorong perubahan-perubahan positif di masyarakatnya. Kami kerjakan misi tersebut dalam 4 fokus utama, yaitu pengurangan risiko bencana, aksi iklim, penguatan sosioekonomi, dan juga respons kemanusiaan yang inklusif. Pengurangan risiko bencana itu nggak hanya krusial di Indonesia ya, tapi di mana-mana itu sangat penting karena tanpa pengurangan risiko bencana, semua keberhasilan atau capaian-capaian pembangunan itu bisa hilang begitu saja gitu kalau ada datang bencana. Tapi memang di Indonesia isu ini menjadi lebih krusial lagi mengingat kita nih tinggal di atas ring of fire, jadi risiko letusan gunung berapi, risiko gempa, risiko longsor dan lain sebagainya, termasuk juga risiko perubahan iklim karena kita tinggal di negara kepulauan ya, itu juga sangat besar. Kontribusi ASB adalah meningkatkan awareness tentang risiko-risiko ini, tapi nggak berhenti di situ. Kita juga memastikan masyarakat tahu dan masyarakat punya cara dan kapasitas untuk mengelola risiko tersebut secara inklusif.
Because when we first started our work in Indonesian humanitarian response, I don't think we were thinking enough about disability. So that has been a real learning experience. Something that's kind of always really impressed me looking back at ASB is the way that ASB as an organisation, so not only here in Indonesia but also in Germany, was very responsive and receptive to seeing gaps in our work and really taking action to kind of correct those gaps. Disability inclusion was a good example of that, where we weren't doing enough in our early work here. Learn more, a key part of that was building linkages with the disability movement, organisations of people with disability, who we really learnt a lot from in those early days. I think that progression now, so I think where ASB is in a position of really leading on issues of disability inclusion, disability equity, that's been really impressive, and also influencing other ASB offices and much further afield as well in terms of policy and practice. People with disability face so many structural barriers that they can be really at risk, can live in poverty and those things. So for us to be an organisation that was talking a lot about participatory approaches, and then for it being highlighted for our own team and for our own work that we were missing this entire group, this whole entire section of society. That was a really big wake-up call, I think, for all of us. For some organisations it might have been, okay, that's a bit too difficult, maybe we'll just put that aside. But what was really great, I think, about the team at ASB at that time is everyone was really concerned, really responsive, and there was a collective decision that, hey, we have to do something about this, we have to change how we work. For me, that was probably quite a memorable moment in ASB and an important juncture where I think the work that was done here then went on to have some wider influence as well.
Salah satu perubahan paling transformatif buat ASB adalah saat ASB mendengarkan dan menyikapi masukan dari salah satu guru sekolah luar biasa ya, yang bilang bahwa pekerjaan ASB di isu pengurangan risiko bencana hanya bisa berhasil apabila benar-benar kita bisa memastikan semua orang selamat. Dan sejak itu ASB menjadi lembaga yang lebih mengutamakan, lebih memastikan bahwa pendekatan pengurangan risiko bencana ini menjadi inklusif, tidak meninggalkan siapapun. Dan kita juga selama 20 tahun terakhir ini juga sudah punya pengalaman untuk memastikan bahwa inklusi ini benar-benar diwujudkan dalam berbagai bidang kerja kita.
I think also that shift within the wider ASB family from response to a more preventative approach to disaster risk. And then linked to that, of course, is disability inclusion. I don't think you can look at any of the work that ASB has done over that period without talking about disability. So the way that that's become so central and embedded within all of the work of ASB, I think is really, really important. ASB is now a go-to source for technical assistance and advice on disability inclusion for other agencies. And the way that the team here at ASB has kind of taken on that commitment, built on and improved the work that we did in those early days has been really impressive.
20 tahun ASB di Indonesia. Bersama membangun ketangguhan inklusif.